Oh, good evening, guys. How are you doing today? Right, another excellent topic today. So, if I talk to you about decarbonization, this is a word that you keep on hearing every day, everywhere, isn't it? Right? And if you remember last week, we talked about the top four hazards that actually was were threatening the African growth. And today, I want to talk to you about these opportunities, the five opportunities that I can see for the decarbonization agenda. So, how can emerging market tap into that? And then this is what I like to talk to you about. So, what do you know about it? And do you have an idea of any kind of opportunity that will come? So let me describe to you what I can see. But before that, let me first of all reintroduce myself. So my name is Tony Chu, and I can see today I've decided to change a little bit of decor, right? So I'm just outside, I'm just enjoying myself. Okay, yeah, that's my back garden. I know it's not great, but hey. So, and the question I want to ask. Okay, my name is Tony Tiu. So I'm the founder and CEO of Renewables in Africa. So we are your global clean energy champion, and our job is very simple here. It's to make sure that we we demystify the renewable energy sector for you. So we make it easy and seamless for you to understand and to connect with it, right? So just to make sure that you properly understand. So what I mean by that is, if you happen, for example, to be an investor, and you telling me I like to get some money into the sector, but I don't have enough information for me to know. I know there's a bit of noise, but hey, that's what it is. So I don't know, enough. I don't have enough information. I'm not very comfortable. I like to find out a little bit more about it. So what we do in this channel is very simple. It's providing you those information so you feel comfortable, so that you know that you can definitely invest into the sector and feel okay, right? So this is our job. So the thing is, if you are a business and you're saying that, on the contrary, that's fine. As a business, I like to see what I can do, maybe decarbonize my company. At least I need to learn a little bit more, maybe because somebody has quoted me for a rooftop solution, which is sometimes thing that we do as well. But and you're just not comfortable, right? You like to get some information. This is the thing in this channel, so you definitely would get all those information that you're looking for. And also, if you're telling me that you are a professional, you want to jump into the sector, you want to do whatever I did more than 10 years ago, when I actually left what I was doing in the automotive to get into the sector. In here as well, you get all the information, and that's what we're all about. We want to make sure that we give it to you so you feel comfortable. We demystify that, and after that, if you want to step into the sector, you can do it. If you want to improve your knowledge, you can do it. Right? That's what it's all about. And what I'm asking you to do is only three things, three little things, only three. Right? The first one, it's simply to connect with us, right? Connect on all our platforms, because today we broadcast it from 5 platforms. So we have LinkedIn, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, and we have Telegram. So that means whatever channels speak to you best, I want you to connect to that, right? I want you to connect with that, and there should be no excuse for you not to connect. But ideally, I want you to connect to all of them, right? So you feel comfortable. And especially if you're on YouTube, what I'd like you to do is not only to subscribe, but to press the notification button, so that whenever there is a new video that, for example, what I'm doing today, you get informed about it, and you can actually watch live, and you get the chance to ask your question directly. And by the way, that would be my pleasure to respond to that, right? So that's what I want you to do. So the second thing I like you to do is to leave a comment. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let me know whether you agree with what I'm saying. You disagree. Because if you disagree, that's also absolutely fine with me. Just let me know so that we can have this conversation. Yeah. And just also suggest maybe an example or topic that you want us to talk about. I've already had a few people sending me some few requests. We definitely going to be looking at that. So if you have some more, just send it to me. Or and the last thing, the third piece of thing is just to share. I know there are some people watching me today. First of all, let me say thank you very much. I love it when people are watching, because I know it's on a Sunday. You can be with your family, with your loved one, or just by yourself, right? But you actually making the choice to watch me. So thank you for that. That's what I'm saying. If you happen to be doing it, just drop a question. So drop a questions, and whenever I finish to run through my little expose, I look at that and make sure that I respond to your question, right? That's what we are all about, right? So that's about it. So now we can now move into the topic. So I'm hoping that you share, right? If you haven't shared it, stop for let me just stop for a couple of seconds just for you to click and say share. And that's really easy thing to do, right? Excellent. So now let's move on, talk about the topic per se. So as I'll say last time I spoke to about the top four hazards, right? That were actually threatening the African continent. But today I want to talk about the top five opportunities. That's for emerging market. That's not just Africa, emerging markets. And I guess as well, even in the mature market, you can be definitely tapping into that. So those are opportunities that I have identified with the decarbonization agenda. By the way, why is it important for you? You may be asking yourself, oh, listen, as I say, if you're an investor, if you're a business, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to know where the opportunities are so that you can actually search into it, right? If you happen to have the right skill for that, definitely you want to be positioning yourself. And even if you don't have the right skill, that's the opportunity for you to train yourself, acquire those skills, and make sure that you can step into it. That's the reason I want to cover that with you so that you know where are the openings for you, right? So that's what it's all about. Because I know sometimes when you jump into a sector like that, you're not always sure where to go. Where can I get the money, right? Because every Friday I'm running a special show which is talking about renewables and money. It's talking about how to run a renewable energy business, right? So it's very important. But this is not what we're doing today, right? This is on a Friday. What I'm saying is actually today I just want to talk about those opportunities, right? So the first opportunity that I can talk to you about is just to expand grid scale renewable energy, right? That's very, very much important. And let me take the example of Africa, maybe because that's the territory that I know the most, right? Not that I don't know other places, I do, by the way. But let me just take the African continent, right? Because it resonates a little bit more with me. I'm sure you will understand why, right? So, essentially, basically, as you can see, the electrification rate of Africa is still something like 52%. And there's a lot to be done and cover there. And clearly for me, to achieve full access electrification, clearly we need to expand the grid and we also need other decentralized one. Decentralized, I'm going to talk about that in second position. So for the grid, definitely, right, we need more power there. And I'm saying because renewable energy, especially solar and wind, has actually demonstrated that it has become very cost effective. And you know that over the last decade, right? So I'm sure there's multiple sources talking about that right now. So you know that the cost of solar has dropped by close to 80% over the last 10 years, right? And wind, it's about almost 60% over the last 10 years. So it has become increasingly cost competitive, right? So, and that's actually very interesting. And the other good thing about that, the fact that it has become cost effective, is that now you have it's also fast to deploy. So you have the opportunity. We have the opportunity basically to massively scale up the sector, right? And I know there has been a conversation about whether renewable can be used as a base load. Again, that's another video that I've covered already. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and see that video where I'm talking about renewable as a base load energy source, right? So clearly we can get base load power as well, but clearly as well we can use in a clever way solar and wind to complement. In fact, essentially, so I've seen a number of studies saying that we can definitely get about 60% of power capacity, from renewable, and the other 40% from others. And the other thing that's very important is, the electricity demand in Africa. So it's gonna double over the next 2 decades, more or less, right? So if it's gonna double because obviously population is growing, you want to ask question. So how are we gonna match this power? And this is what I'm saying, that there is then an opportunity to definitely scale up a renewable big time there, right? And countries like South Africa, I've obviously understood that very, very well, and they're doing the job. I'm sure they can do a lot more. Let me just share a very quick snapshot. Uh, figure here, graph, and that's probably the only one I'm going to share for today. But let me see. Yep, I have it. Yep. So, and what we can see very quickly here. So those are scenarios looking at the energy mix, because I've said in the past, and I'm still saying that yes, we're still going to be needing fossil fuel for the foreseeable future. However, if the commitment is really there, there is a possibility to really scale up renewables, right? And I guess that's where sometimes I may have some divergence with some other people, which I definitely respect as well. But let me just make my case, right? I make my case, and hey, let's see how things are moving. So essentially, in the case of South Africa here, by the way, that's a study that was done by McKinsey. That's not me. That's just me sharing what the study is all about. And then, and it would look at a growth and resilient agenda for the continent. So you could see that from 2030, where you can see there's still a clear dominance for coal and gas, right? So looking at the different scenario, you could see that we can definitely move into something that is a lot more greener and cleaner, right? So, and even if you look at the least cost scenario, look at that, right? For example, if we look at that, let me just move that. It's the one in the middle. You could definitely see where we have coal and gas 43%, solar and wind 42%, and then you have storage, hydrogen, and so on and so forth. And you can see how it's shifting and moving into 2050, right? Well, any scenario, clearly you can see that renewable is growing massively. So what I'm saying, that's what I'm saying, the opportunity is here. The opportunity is here for people who want to step into that. Market going to be growing. And then, and for example, that with the current power issue in South Africa, they've massively opened up the market, right? So that market is definitely booming. I personally think that this is not the only market that's going to be booming soon, right? I know other guys will also follow suit, because what happened is when South Africa launched the RIP program, that sort of has allowed people to step in as well and develop other markets. So I'm pretty much certain that other will follow up. So clearly for me, I've identified of grid scale renewables are definitely one of the opportunities you want to tap into, right? So if you happen to be in the market looking at that, yes, you want to be looking at that very closely. Now, which market is going to be useful for you? Hey, that's another topic for another day, right? So, but that is, like I said, for Africa, but clearly it's the same for emerging market and also for mature market. So the second opportunity that I want to talk to you about, it's obviously distributed renewables, right? Because the beautiful thing, right, it's the fact that, and we sometimes forget about it, is that renewable solutions, most of them, maybe not hydro, okay, maybe not geo, but solar and wind, for example, are modular and scalable. So that you can start very small and scale it up, right? And you can then move them around. And that's the beauty. And that's really how you can really create a distributed, renewable energy system, right? And what I'm saying is actually as I was mentioning early on, some study has shown that, we can actually foresee a future whereby we're going to have 60% of the population in Africa that is actually powered by grid, and the 40% by off grid. Yeah, and this is where you have the distributed renewable energy system. It's definitely possible. Why? Because I say the current demand going to be expanding, right? It's going to double in the next decade or two, right? So how do you meet that? So, and that's the beauty of that. It's scalable, it's modular, it's cost effective, and it's actually clean. Yeah. So clearly, there's an opportunity there. So that means as well that if you happen to be in this sector, there's going to be a whole lot of services that are needed there, whether you're a supplier in the sector, so whether you happen to be a developer of mini grid, or you happen to be, I don't know, so a consultant there. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities. So you're going to be watching out for that. And this is what you're going to see a lot in the emerging market. And this is actually big as the decarbonization agenda is growing. Yeah, because I know some may be reluctant. I understand it. I get it. Because there's some concern needs to be addressed there. No problem. Nobody said that when we move into this path, thing was going to be smooth. Nobody said that. In fact, the reality, any transition you're going through is always bumpy. Always bumpy. So, and it's our job to actually find the right path, the right compromise, the right mix for things to move forward. But it's always bumpy. Nobody, if somebody's telling you that an energy transition is going to be smooth, I think I personally would doubt that person. But that's me. You could be acting differently. Yeah. So clearly, distributed renewable um, energy, it's the second opportunity that I believe you want to be looking out for, yeah, in emerging market and especially in Africa. So let me talk to you about the third point, the third opportunity. And the third opportunity for me, it's scaling up green manufacturing. Yeah, yes, absolutely, green manufacturing. Because as the market is growing, as economy is growing, sector maturing, and as well, you have as well government in Africa becoming more clever. Have to say that clearly they also want to develop their capabilities because I've always said emerging market, especially Africa, is still a market. It's not a player yet. For the continent to become a player, that means as well that we need to properly develop the capabilities. Yeah, and green manufacturing is one of it. Yeah, especially we've seen because at the moment, and we all recognize that, especially for solar and wind, most of it will come from abroad. It definitely come from Asia or China. Nothing wrong with that. China was very clever to position herself in such a situation that everybody now goes there. But the trouble is, if you just have one place where you're manufacturing all the goods, when a situation like COVID, for example, is coming, or you have whatever issue in that place, the whole rest of the world is actually stuck. You can't have it. And also, like I say, if we're talking about dropping down the cost of the production cost, bringing the cost down, increase your margin, you want to be making sure that locally you're also able, to manufacture those components. Because in the case of solar and wind, for example, I'm sure many other components, a big part of that cost is in the shipping. Yes, and you penalize actually twice. You penalize because actually the cost is quite high shipping, right? Especially now with COVID, we've had it very very high. Secondly, you have the lead time. Because everybody is asking, especially if the world is actually getting supply from the same place, you can imagine the queue there, right? Imagine, you remember when what we had with the vaccine, where the richer country were actually holding vaccine, right? All the other guys were waiting in queue in line, and they were just getting whatever is left over. And this is the thing. So when you don't have as a local manufacturer, it is a big problem. And in fact, if we are able to tap into that emerging market, especially Africa, tap into green manufacturing, again, some study have shown that we can actually generate, about 800,000 jobs, by I think that's what was that, 2030? Yeah, so 800,000 jobs, and who knows, maybe a million, past a million by 2050, even 2 millions, just by obviously unlocking the green capability. What can we manufacture? Can you ask me? Whoa, there's many components that we can do. Definitely panels, solar panel we can do. All the different component of the wind turbine we can do that. The nacelle we can do, the blade we can do, right? I know already there's some countries that assemble, some of them, but we can do a lot more. Batteries certainly, right? Especially because if you know that in the case of lithium, Congo, DRC, hey, 60% lithium will come there. So, or cobalt, sorry, will come there even more. I think it's more than that, right? But this is what I'm saying. So clearly, that's an opportunity here. So green manufacturing for me, it's one of the it's one of the opportunities that we need to be tapping into. So the fourth opportunity, I'm hoping that you follow me, right? So first, I talked about the grid scale renewables. That is one opportunity we want to tap into. The second, I talked about distributed renewable energy power that we can also exploit. In third, I talked about scaling green manufacturing, and I'm not in the fourth. And in the fourth, I want to talk to you about the export market for green hydrogen. Yes, absolutely, green hydrogen. Everybody's talking about green hydrogen. Okay, there's a lot of potential there. In fact, when I see green hydrogen, it reminds me my days when I started. Right, so I was very much looking at offshore wind. Right, so it was kind of kicking off a little bit, and yeah, there was a lot of noise that I just like what I'm seeing with green hydrogen. And I'm convinced just because of the level of commitment, the level of interest that people have into that cost going to be, you know, sliding massively, especially in terms of hydrogen. The technology is already there. So what actually is being green is actually the production process. It's not actually discovering the technology per se. Technology is already there, but the process, right? So how can we use clean sources to produce the hydrogen? That's how you're talking about green hydrogen, right? So and a lot of people basically, because I've attended a few conferences, I think that's also talk that are there. People then asking the question, so where is going to be the market? Is it going to be the local market in Africa, or emerging market? It's going to be for Europe, right? So it's fair to say that. So at the moment, the for green hydrogen, so the local market, I think, is yet to be seen, right? Because you need kind of a lot of infrastructure there, and then it's not an easy job to do, but not impossible, obviously. So the immediate market is definitely the export market, right? And you see that a lot of countries already position themselves. So Namibia, definitely, a lot of people talking about Namibia, and I know gentlemen like James Minupe, from Namibia, is doing a great job promoting his country. I know that I believe it's Morocco and Egypt doing the same thing, if I'm correct. But there's a lot of talk about hydrogen now, right? So certainly for the export market, and that is an opportunity as well that the sector want to be looking at. So if you're an investor, right, you may want to be getting close to some opportunities regarding green hydrogen that you see right now, right? So this is something that could be of an interest, right? So green hydrogen, you want to be looking at that. Like I said, a lot of countries, and like I say, what I mentioned to you, just a few countries that I know that are in Africa, because a lot of them, because I think, for example, Germany's definitely heavily involved into that. They're doing a number of initiatives that I've come across. Yeah, many other countries as well. France would do that. A lot of people looking at hydrogen, I think, because they want to clearly position themselves. Italy as well. There's a gentleman, for example, that reached out to me, so showing me what they're doing at the moment. Because I don't know if you know, guys, but a lot of people actually send me stuff, right? Maybe because they think that all of a sudden I will quickly introduce them to investor. I don't know. Hey, that's another topic. Right. So yeah. So on the hydrogen side, there's a lot of things that are happening. I can see that I have a, okay, I have Baba who will send greetings. Hey, Baba, great to see you. Baba Yunus Mohammed. So, Baba, if you have a question, so send that to me. By the way, thank you for watching and hello as well. So I'm just gonna share that in a minute, right? So that's what I see here. So Baba say warm greetings from Baba Yunus Mohammed. Yeah. Hey, great to see you. Great to see you. At least I know I'm not talking to myself. Yeah. So green hydrogen, like I said, export market is another big, big, big opportunity to tap into. So again, it means that if you're new into the sector, right, and you're looking at where can I fit in, slot in, you may want to be looking at that, especially people coming from oil and gas, because a lot of the technology that will be used there, oil and gas, can be transferred to green hydrogen, and definitely I can see that there is clearly an opportunity there. So it's massive, massive. You want to be looking at that, yeah. And like I say, if you knew, because that's what I did when I was coming. I was I was looking at offshore wind. I looked at what was happening there. How can I fit in? Because it was a new market. I know they needed new skills, and if you happen to spot a couple of skills that are very much needed in that new arena that's up and up, hey, all of a sudden you become somebody people want to talk to. This is what I'm talking about here. Yeah. So I can see some other people have sent greeting. Guys, I'm going to acknowledge you in a minute, but thank you very much for connecting. So let me talk about the fifth one, right? 'Cause I talked about top five, right? So the fifth one that I could see is the export. It's the carbon sequestration and also export market, because we know, as we're talking about decarbonization, we need to be drastically and quickly capture part of the carbon that's in the atmosphere, right? And it's gonna be, let's be honest, difficult to do it just with uh more generation. So how can we do that? What kind of adaptation measure can we take? And I know there is a technology called carbon capture. Again, it could be controversial at time, but it's all about capturing carbon that has been produced and basically sequestering it, on the ground, deep down. And some places seems to be more, let's say, more prone, yeah, seem better at having this process or having this action done than others. And Canada as well, the continent can tap into that, because as time passing, Europe, America, as well. So we need to be more aggressive, and they'll be looking at places where they can do it. So There's clearly a market is open up there. I think I've attended conversation where people clearly talking about that. And the reason I'm also saying that is just in case you don't know, I can tell you that these are questions people are actually talking about. Yeah. And export market, but also the export trading market, anything that also linked with not carbon capture, talking about carbon capture already. What's the name of it? Carbon trading. Yeah, carbon trading. Because a lot of companies now they've been forced because of legislation in places like, for example, the EU. Because of legislation, a lot of companies have to demonstrate that they're actually doing their bit, right, to meet the objectives of the whole continent. Because you probably don't know, but the EU, for example, has passed a law to make sure that they're carbon neutral by 2050. So that means they're going to be, and at the moment, they've actually enshrined that in law, and they're now putting a lot of mechanism to get people to adhere to that. So whether you are a company, whether you're a professional, and so on and so, or government, right? So as time passes, it's going to be more and more stringent. It's going to definitely kickstart by 2030. So companies are already looking at how can they make sure, because if they don't meet that, they have to pay heavy fines. And I've already talked about that in one of my previous videos. So what I'm saying here is that's an opportunity you also want to be tapping into. So how can we make it happen? For example, right? So if you want to be an aggregator of solar project or wind project or whatever renewable energy project, and all of a sudden, you have a bunch of projects like that you can sell to company that are looking to offset their carbon, that's a market, right? I know I'm simplifying that. I'm sure it's a lot more complex than what I'm talking about, but clearly it's an opportunity. How do I know it's an opportunity? I can promise you that I've had conversation again with a very serious company. I can't name them, obviously, but very serious companies are looking at that, looking at expanding this kind of program. And their challenge sometimes is they don't know who to talk to. They don't know where are the right projects, right? So yeah, but that's an opportunity that I can talk about here. So yeah, those were the top 5. But let me give you yeah, let me give you a last one. Sixth one, sixth opportunity. It's what I call anything. I've kind of alluded a little bit to that. It's what we call the transition metal or transitioning metal. I don't know how you call it. What am I talking about here? A lot of people are talking about EVs, right? Electric vehicles, batteries. Yeah. So if you talk about the material that we unlock those things, right? You have things like lithium, you have things like cobalt. Okay, and I think I saw as well another article by a gentleman I'm talking to at the moment about another uh, rare metal that has been discovered. So a lot of those technology rely on material like that are in abundance in Africa and I guess in other emerging markets. That scale is an opportunity. So of course, a little bit like people having oil or gas, some countries made a fortune out of it, right? So and I know in that in African countries we've not been great yet at properly exploiting that. But hey, maybe with a no industry, we have another chance to seize the opportunity this time and get it right. Yeah. But those transition methods that I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is that the decarbonization agenda won't happen, right, without those resources. And if you own those resources, how can you make it, how can you make it an advantage for you, right? So that all of a sudden you can use it to develop, you can use it to expand the opportunity. So that means, for example, if you happen to be close to a mine with lithium or thing like that, you have some expertise, here's clearly an opportunity that people are going to be looking at. Yeah. So that's the sixth one I wanted to talk to about here. So, but I think I've covered a lot, right? So I can see I'm already 30 minutes, but hopefully you find it interesting. So let me just summarize. And after that, I'm just going to acknowledge people that I've said, hey, hello here, because I appreciate that because they're taking the time to talk. So number one, I talked about grid scale renewables, right? That's the first opportunity that I have identified, and it's quite obvious why, right? You could see. Two, I talked about distributed renewable energy, right? That's anything related to off grid and the fact that solar, wind, for example, are scalable, modular, cost effective, and fast to deploy, right? And number three, I talked about green manufacturing because clearly as the sector expanding, the agenda becoming more and more pressing, right? Clearly, we need to fast track the deployment of renewables or clean energies, and clearly you will need to manufacture that. And I'm saying that's an opportunity to develop, center of excellences, industrial hubs where you have local manufacturing. So that's an opportunity that you definitely want to be looking at. Number four, I talked about green hydrogen that could be exported. So exported to other markets and generate significant amount of revenue for country that would do that. Obviously, you will also want to develop green hydrogen for the local market. It all depends at what pace you are going, but clearly this is something that you want to be looking at. And number five, I talked about carbon sequestration, right? And also export credit. So this is one thing that you want to be looking at because especially I would say the Western world are looking for places where they can do business with regard to this particular topic. And I've asked, not asked, I added the sixth one, which is the transitioning or transition metal, right? Anything that allow the decarbonization agenda to be to happen, to be deployed, right? So anything, any material or metal like lithium, like cobalt that we have in abundance, you can also use that and make an opportunity out of it. So those are the six, because I say it was top five, actually top six. Yeah. Just another one just to give you a bit of bonus. So when I wrote it out like that, so there is a lot of opportunity that you guys can see. So please, please don't tell me that you can't see opportunities. There are lots. Now the question for you, which one are you gonna pursue? Which one is suitable with you? That's the kind of question you want to ask yourself. And once basically you answer this question, then you know where you can slot in, right? So that's all I had to say for today, right? So hopefully you find it interesting. Leave me a comment. I have some few comments there. I'm just gonna acknowledge the people that actually say hi here. But let me know if there's anything else you wanted to talk about. So what do you feel about that? Those six opportunities, which one suits you best? Which one do you think that you can exploit? Hey, it's up to you to decide, right? So let me just acknowledge my people here. So say hello. If there's any question, I will respond. So obviously I had Baba already, Yunus Mohammed. So I showed him already. Baba, hey, great to see ya. Appreciate that. So that was from Ghana. Then I have Eche Otaku from Nigeria. Hey, Eche, how are you? Great, great, great having you here. So hopefully everything is okay. So any question, if yes, happy to respond to that. Otherwise, I'm just carry on. So then I have Paul Longe. At Paul regularly actually like our posts. Hey, Paul, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. So, from Switzerland. I didn't know you were in Switzerland, Paul. Very great job, Tony. Very great job, you as well, following. Yeah. So, I'm hoping that you actually share the video. But thank you for for showing support here. I really, really appreciate. Yeah. So that's Paul Longe. So, who else do I have? I have Chino Gode. Yeah, hello Gode from Nigeria. I appreciate your insight, renewables energy opportunities. Hey Chino, so pleasure to have you as well, Gode. So yeah, thanks for taking your time and following us. Yeah, appreciate that. So who else do I have here? I have Zion Inogiru. So powerful insight. I'm joining from Nigeria. Hey, I know I have a big followers, people following us in Nigeria. Great guys, fantastic. So hopefully I should be in Nigeria soon, but let's see. Yeah, excellent. Thanks for that. It's excellent. And then we have here Ibekwe Philip. So what can African? Oh, that's a question actually. Let me respond to that. What can African do to start positioning yourself to production of solar then consumption? Excellent question. So this is a question that I've sometimes see because when I had the opportunity to talk to some officials from some countries, I know a number of them are interested having uh local manufacturing, right? And the question on local manufacturing, you'd be quite surprised, but a lot of actually supply are not against it, so they will happily look at the questions. But we also have to look at things from the supplier or investor perspective. So that question to if you think about local manufacturing, right? Local manufacturing, first of all, those are heavy investment, long-term investment. It takes time for you to recoup your money. So if you're looking at that, you want to be sure that if I do that, obviously there's going to be some return in my investment, right? And if you look at the business model of supply, by the way, I don't know if you've looked at my video that we did on Friday. So that was for renewables and money. So I was talking about a different business model, and one of the business model I talked about that with the supplier, which is essentially a manufactured product a component that I sell, right? So just imagine that I have a local manufacturing facility. So that means I'm going to be producing component, right? So I need now to sell it into the market. So you already see where I'm going to, right? It's about also making sure that you develop a local market, or at least a market, even if it's not local, it's around. Anyway, a market somewhere where I can actually sell the products of my manufacturing facility, right? And if there is something that I mean that as soon as I manufacture that I can sell, then the business model makes sense. Then I'm happy to consider whether or not I want to set up in your country. What I'm saying here is, if we just ask, because we need to understand how these people think. So if we just ask supplier like that to set up a manufacturing facility, but we're not giving them any visibility, what is the pipeline of project that would potentially use those products, those goods, then they end up potentially have a lot of goods that they build, they manufacture, but nobody's buying it, and they're not making money at all, right? So how can Africa start positioning itself? So if I were, for example, one of those government, what I would say, for example, let's imagine if I come up with a master plan or something like we know how to do it, where I know that I want to have X amount of power generation coming from renewable, especially X amount of solar. So obviously, I'm sure there's going to be a number of tenders that I will issue there. People will apply. Tender always oversupply, right? But what I would make it as a condition in those tenders is that the winners, yeah, they have to procure a number of component locally, right? Local content. It's already there, but maybe be a little bit more specific in saying that we're like a number of those components to make use of facility that have been built in the country. So that, for example, if I'm a manufacturer, you tell me, listen, I'm going to be developing over the next 5 years 100 megawatt of solar, for example, yeah, or more, and I can assure you, out of the 100 megawatt of solar, so we're going to make sure that a number will actually supply the component from whoever is setting up locally. So that's a way to create local market, right? So that you can have a regulations or mechanism like that works. But it also would work if I do that as a country, I also make sure that I develop, the skills locally, capacity building, because most of the time, as these people, and I think in the sector, so skill shortages is very high, right? Because there's not enough qualified people that can actually support the sector as well. That also we have to say that. So as African, it's about developing those skills that are needed, and that's one of the reasons, for example, you see me here talking to you on a Sunday, because I know that I have some knowledge that I've developed. Obviously, there's lots that I don't know, but a few things that I know. It's about how can I engage people like yourself, yeah, and share that. And obviously, for things that are a lot more complex, I'm sure some of you will reach out and we can look at that. So as we do with all our different client and customers, right? But this is very much important because, as I say, so when I step into the sector, I didn't know anything. I was coming from automotive. I know you heard it a lot of times, so apologies if I keep on repeating that. But just to say that all that knowledge that I have, I've acquired it, right? I've developed it. So we need to find a way to get a lot more people knowledgeable. And that's one of the reasons, again, I'm saying I'm here. So that's what I'm saying. I want you to share. I want to share because maybe a couple of people that are interested about what I'm saying and want to go take it a little further. So the easy way, so how can Africa start positioning itself, is people like yourself watching us, Philip, and just start sharing that, or getting people to look at that and pass on the message. And that's how you can do your bit. Don't just wait for the other guy to do it. What can you, Philip, already watching me today, now at what? 11 past 3 p.m. my time. What can you do? I'm sure you can do that. So hopefully I was able to respond to that. But excellent question, by the way. I love it. I love it. So I don't know if there's any other question. I'll take it. Otherwise, I believe we've had a substantial conversation already. 40 minutes. I've been a little bit longer today, but that's because you guys. I like it when I can interact with you and discuss. So I usually don't mind it. Yeah. So excellent. But I don't think there was any more question. If there was any question anyway, coming afterwards, so what I do is I respond to it. Yeah, I respond to it, and we can take it forward. But yeah, it was a lovely session, excellent. So yeah, so appreciate that. Yeah, nothing else to say. So yeah, I hope that you remember what I said. Yeah, I talked about the six. Oh, okay. I know it happens sometimes, when I'm just about to wrap it up, there's a comment. Let me just see what Gode has to say. Gode say, green hydrogen export is getting traction these days because the opportunity therein. But don't you think it will affect African plan of first achieving energy security? Because investment meant for expanding access will not be used to build. Well, okay, excellent question. That's another very, very good question. I mean, what you're saying here is don't we have a risk that the investment going to be diverted into green hydrogen because the export market might seem a little more lucrative? Yeah. So yes, the answer to that is yes, absolutely. So that's a potential risk. Remember, like I said, the transition, energy access, whatever you call it, is going to be bumpy. It's never going to be a smooth line. But it's about recognizing those challenges and then think about it, and also having people that would think through it properly and see how to properly address it. But the thing is, life is complex. There's many things happen at the same time. So because it's also about being opportunistic, right? For example, if I'm a country, let's put it that way, right? So if I'm a country, I'm Nigeria or I'm Cameroon, right? So I know that investor may actually be more interested by the green hydrogen by helping me to get full electrification. No problem. I can make full use of the hydrogen market and use the revenue myself to deploy energy access. You don't actually need other people to come and do this for yourself. How can you use the revenue that is about how can you better reuse the revenue that you're getting? If it's hydrogen that really people put it that way, right? So uh at COP26, right? So Western nations, committed to provide, $100 billion every year. So I'm sure that's a figure that you heard. But up until now, I think it's only 20 billion that they've provided or supplied, or definitely the shortfall. And what I'm saying here is, if by some miracle they're able to provide us 80 billion additional, but that's only going to go to hydrogen. They say it's only available for hydrogen. Take it, develop it, get the revenue, and reuse it to accelerate energy access. That's how I will use it. But clearly, you're right, it's a risk. But you know that it's almost like what is hot on the market. If I say what is hot on the market, we also now need to have some business acumen to say, okay, let me give it to them, but make sure that I know how to reuse it, right? It's almost like what you do in the Middle East, right? People know that oil and gas, it's actually very, very well demanded in the rest of the world. They sell it and they develop their country. Why can't we do the same thing? Just as simple as that. Be opportunistic, call opportunity. That's what I call it. That's why so I have, show like renewables and money to get people to think properly business. Let's talk business. Yeah. So yes, we want to save the planet, absolutely, but also we want to do business. So if you're looking at that, how can I make sure that I get the money that I want and I know how to reuse it myself? That's how we do it. I don't need anybody else to do it myself, because what I want is money, and what I want is actually resources, right? Because actually money, it's a resource. Money help you to get the results. If I can't get the money directly, how can I get, even by using hydrogen, develop the resource that I would need to accelerate energy access? That's how personally I would think. Hopefully that responds to your question. Yeah, I can get a little bit too passionate about this thing. Okay, now I gotta wrap up, guys, because I have a lot of work. I know I can spend days here, but it's not the objective, the purpose. Yeah, so I gotta go back. I have a busy week that waiting for me. But guys, Lovely question, excellent question, Gode. So yeah, from Nigeria, appreciate that. So, but you may have, by the way, a different take, right? So that's what I like to exchange. So don't feel like you have to agree with everything I said. So please let me know what you think and let's have a debate. So excellent, guys. So a pleasure for me to talk to you today. So I'm probably gonna see you again on Wednesday, yeah, and on Friday when we have the renewable the money. I want more of you to join that one as well, guys, because I'm talking about the business of running a renewable energy business, sharing my experience with other people, right? So how can you make money if you are actually doing renewables? But yeah, excellent session. I love it. I mean the nature, sun's out there, and I'm hoping that the sun will still also stay with you guys. Okay, excellent. So thank you very much for that. So I enjoyed, and like I usually say, may the sun be with you guys. Get better. Take care. Bye bye.